Welcome to the live, everyone. Hey, SDV. Hey, Dig. Hey, everybody. Right now, typing away on my computer, reading some articles. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and consider sharing it for more.
Sir, the magnitude of the business of this road, its numerous and important connections, and the large number of employees engaged in operating it, have led many, whose opinions are entitled to respect, to the conclusion that a proper regard to details, which enter so largely into the elements of success in the management of all railroads, cannot possibly be attained by any plan that contemplates its organization as a whole, and in proof of this position, the experience of shorter roads is referred to, the business operations of which have been conducted much more economically. Theoretically, other things being equal, a long road should be operated for a less cost per mile than a short one. This position is so clearly evident and so generally admitted, that its truth may be assumed without offering any arguments in support of it, and, notwithstanding the reverse, so far as practical results are considered, has generally been the case, we must look to other causes than the mere difference in length of roads for a solution of the difficulty. A superintendent of a road 50 miles in length can give its business his personal attention, and may be almost constantly upon the line engaged in the direction of its details. Each employee is familiarly known to him, and all questions in relation to its busyness are at once presented and acted upon, and any system, however imperfect, may under such circumstances prove comparatively successful. In the government of a road 500 miles in length, a very different state of things exists. Any system which might be applicable to the business and extent of a short road would be found entirely inadequate to the wants of a long one, and I am fully convinced that in the want of a system perfect in its details, properly adapted and vigilantly enforced, lies the true secret of their failure, and that this disparity of cost per mile in operating long and short roads is not produced by a difference in length, but is in proportion to the perfection of the system adopted. Entertaining these views, I had the honor, more than a year since, to submit for your consideration and approval a plan for the more effective organization of this department. The system then proposed has to some extent been introduced, and experience, so far, affords the strongest assurances that when fully carried out, the most satisfactory results will be obtained. In my opinion, a system of operations, to be efficient and successful, should be such as to give to the principal and responsible head of the running department a complete daily history of details in all their minutiae. Without such supervision, the procurement of a satisfactory annual statement must be regarded as extremely problematical. The fact that dividends are earned without such control does not disprove the position, as in many cases the extraordinarily 48 classical organization theory remunerative nature of an enterprise may ensure satisfactory returns under the most loose and inefficient management. It may be proper here to remark that in consequence of that want of adaptation before alluded to, we cannot avail ourselves to any great extent of the plan of organization of shorter lines in framing one for this, nor have we any precedent or experience upon which we can fully rely in doing so. Under these circumstances, it will scarcely be expected that we can at once adopt any plan of operations which will not require amendment and a reasonable time to prove its worth. A few general principles, however, may be regarded as settled and necessary in its formation, amongst which are 1. A proper division of responsibilities. 2. Sufficient power conferred to enable the same to be fully carried out, that such responsibilities may be real in their character. 3. The means of knowing whether such responsibilities are faithfully executed. 4. Great promptness in the report of all derelictions of duty, that evils may be at once corrected. 5. Such information, to be obtained through a system of daily reports and checks that will not embarrass principal officers, nor lessen their influence with their subordinates. 6. The adoption of a system, as a whole, which will not only enable the general superintendent to detect errors immediately, but will also point out the delinquent.
Welcome, everybody. I am typing on my computer, doing my schoolwork. So glad you guys could tune into the live. Please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video. We're only like 3 people away from 840 subscribers. So back to the video, guys.
Hello, students, and here we are at Module 1, Classic Theory, Part 1. So, in this module, we're going to look at the beginning scholars of what was not public administration, but they provided principles and ideas that led into the birth of the public administration movement. So we start to think about public administration in terms of general management, because organization study was not a thing way back, at least until the 19th century, late 19th century, early 20th century. But some of the principles that managers followed were division of labor, the fact that organizations need efficient output, they can't waste resources and manpower. They want to get work done quickly, but they want to get work done well. And if they can figure out a process by which to do that, they want to codify it and repeat it. There is an agreement about the essence of what an organization is, that they have. There is an agreement, they want to codify it and repeat. There is an agreement about the essence of what an organization is, that they have common characteristics, which we'll see in the next module. The characteristics can be learned, they can be found, identified, described, and then compared. All organizations share principles, and that the principles can be learned. Obviously, the picture on the right is of the Egyptian pyramids, and apparently they had some very good principles for building large structures there. The classical theory has some what we call essential tenets, and that's one is good managers could pretty much manage anything if they had the right resources and division of labor. They realized early on, very early on, way back, that the production can be maximized if you specialize tasks and divide the labor. And at the time, labor was under the total control of management. There was no such thing as workers' needs or what workers want. But the study of workers and the relationship to management and how that affected productivity really grew during the Industrial Revolution. Socrates was the Industrial Revolution. Socrates was one of the earliest management thinkers, and he argued that, well, if you get the right resources, the right person, you divide your labor and you specialize the task to those who can do certain tasks, task A, B, or C. You create an authority in your leaders, and the workforce has to be obedient. You support your allies, you provide good relationships, and you keep your eye open for trends and what's going on around you. These principles are timeless. They're not just pertinent to organizational theory, but to management in general. Any large project, you will find these principles at work. project, you will find these principles at work. Adam Smith was famous British economist, was very strongly in favor of division of labor by task in order to organize productivity. You organize productivity, Smith thought, you would have greater efficiency and output. And of course, use of the machinery at the time, which of course was rudimentary in the 1700s, but if you use the right machinery, you would most likely have a better outcome. Daniel McCallum was a railroad superintendent, but he also was very detail-oriented. He noticed that railroad system was large, complex, and you had to move train A off the track before train B could come on that track to unload or load. And so he hired enough people to keep good records, watch the details, and be proactive about problems before they became problems. So you go through and you are responsibly executing your job and paying attention. And that's how he was very successful. That idea carried over into running an organization. The need for order is everywhere in organizations. If you have a chaotic organization, chances are you're not going to be very productive. Organizations led by people, staffed by people, can be ordered systems, and our tendency is to try to organize our labor and efforts, but it also implies that you have to do this right. You can't just organize things anyway. You have to do it right. You have to do that consistently. And to do that, you have to follow the principles that we have above discussed in the earlier slides. Well, that concludes the first introductory slide package for Classic Theory Part 1. I'll see you on the discussion board.
Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. I have to do some of the work off camera for the rest. I still have typing work to do, but that's for a different class. So maybe when I'm doing that, I'll log back in. So hopefully you enjoyed this little video typing sounds for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Feel free to like the video, and I will be back again with more live soon.